I have the pleasure now of introducing Dr. Fred Kabagambe Kaliisa, who is the Permanent Secretary of the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development in the Government of Uganda. Fred is a long-serving member of the Ministry and Government of Uganda. He's had 38 years in service, and he's been decorated on many times by the current president and the previous president. He's a geologist by background, so I have to respect you in that regard, and he did geology and chemistry at Kampala. He then did a Masters of Science in Petroleum Geology in the University of Aberdeen, and after that he was given an honorary doctorate of Philosophy and Humanities in November 2014. He's worked in many sectors of the government, but most of this time in government he's actually been working in the ministry that he's currently in. He was awarded the highest honor of, and I'm sure I will pronounce this incorrectly, but Umjawarakonda in 2007, and then he was given a special Distinguished Service Order of the Nile class in 2012. He was also awarded the Best Civil Servant of the Year in 2013, and for his visionary of Uganda. And he also won the African Leadership Winner Award in 2014. I don't know what else I can say about Fred. Phenomenal CV, phenomenal experience in government. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your presentation, and his presentation is titled Oil and Gas Development and Licensing in Uganda. So please welcome Dr. Fred to the podium.
Thank you very much, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here at the Global Africa Week, which has been organized by Global Pacific, and thank you very much for inviting us. My presentation will focus on the country overview briefly, then I'll look at the legal and institutional framework that is moving the Ugandan oil industry. I'll look at what is going on now, what is the status, what is the commercialization plan that we are looking at, the first licensing round, which we are concluding, and investment opportunities, and then I will conclude. A quick slide that shows the position of Uganda. The green, Uganda is at the equator, basically land linked with Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, DRC, and Southern Sudan. There is a robust legal and regulatory framework in Uganda. The policy is in place, the National Oil and Gas Policy that we passed in 2008, laws, the Upstream Law and the Midstream Law. All these can be accessed on our website, which is www.petroleum.go.ug, so that can be found out there. In terms of the institutional framework, two things have happened of late. One, the Petroleum Authority has been formed and the National Oil Company. The Petroleum Authority is important because it is the one that will regulate the sector and also monitor compliance. It also advises the minister on grant of licenses. The licenses are granted by the minister, but on approval of cabinet. So basically it is cabinet that grants licenses in Uganda, but with the advice of the Petroleum Authority. Then the other institution is the National Oil Company, which will move the commercial business. Actually, the chairman of the National Oil Company, Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, must be around with us. So this Uganda National Oil Company will create joint ventures with IOCs. So that is the institutional framework. In terms of exploration and drilling operations, over the last 10 years or so, 120 exploration and appraisal wells have been drilled in the Albertine Graben, and 21 oil and gas discoveries have been made. with a very good success rate of 88%. So that is where we are. Reserves and resources in Uganda, in terms of resources of crude oil, we have 6.5 billion barrels of oil in place, and out of that, 1.4 to 1.7 billion barrels is recoverable. And then we have also some gas, 500 billion cubic feet of gas, and 172 billion cubic feet of associated gas. The other one is non-associated. So what is now going on with respect to the upstream companies? There are three key players in Uganda. CNOOC Uganda Limited. CNOOC right now has a production license, and their field development plan was approved in 2013. They are undertaking both preliminary and other development activities to go into production for the Kingfisher. The other player, Total E&P Uganda, has submitted 5 applications for production licenses for 6 discoveries that have been made in Exploration Area 1, and also they are carrying out appraisal of one other discovery. The other one is Talo Uganda, which has submitted 3 applications for production licenses, and these have been reviewed. All in all, we have now finished the review of production licenses, and we are very confident that before the end of this year, all production licenses will be issued to the companies. There were concerns, of course. That's why there has been a bit of a delay in the award of production licenses. Government had concerns, things like presentation of reserve management plans alongside with applications. So we wanted that to be done, recovery factors to be improved. So there are issues which have now been negotiated with the companies, and we are now we are progressing well. But also the industry has their own issues, like they wanted government to improve the fiscal incentives, which has been done. You heard this morning. Also, the companies requested for extra time to finalize their appraisals, and that was granted. So those combination, the concerns of government and the concerns of companies, created some bit of a delay in completing the application process. In terms of the commercialization plan, there are 3 phases to this. First is a small program of producing power from crude and gas. But then the other one is the refinery and the pipeline, which we have been discussing this morning. In terms of the refinery, this project is driven by the fact that there's limited refining capacity in Africa, especially in East Africa. That's why we think that an internal inland refinery makes a lot of business and good sense. This project of establishing the refinery that will be done in phases, starting with 30,000 barrels per day to 60,000 barrels, is undergoing negotiation with selected investor, Rostec RCGR Consortium, which is a consortium of Telconet Capital, VTB Capital, Taftnet, and GS Engineering of Korea. So we anticipate to sign all the project agreements for the refinery by the end of this year. This slide shows the preparation that has been done for the refinery project, acquisition of land, environmental impact assessments, and so on. The pipeline. It is correct to say that both the governments, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, now Tanzania, as well as the companies, have done work on establishing the most sensible route for transportation of crude from Lake Albert to the coast. And 3 options have been looked at. Hoima Lakisho Lamu, Hoima Nairobi Mombasa, Hoima Bukoba and Tanga. They are key challenges which we have to discuss and agree to overcome. Issues of infrastructure so that we don't delay construction. There are security concerns. There are issues of the marine ports. How do we deal with those? Then project structuring. So there are areas out of the studies that have been done that require discussions. Consequently, intensive consultations between the governments and the upstream companies are ongoing in order to establish the least cost option for transportation of crude, because that's an important element. And therefore, we think that within the next 4 months or so, we should have overcome the challenges, looked at the conditions precedent to establishment of the crude oil pipeline. This is a big project. It's about 5 years or so. Now, finally, we look at our licensing round. Right now, only 10% of the Albert and Graben is licensed. So there is 90% which is not licensed. And therefore, government started a competitive process to license some acreage. 6 blocks have been offered: Muvule, Taitai, Ngasa, Turako, Kalimataba, and Ingaji, for companies to bid. And we have shortlisted 16 companies who have bid for this acreage. The companies are quite a number. We have Africa Global Resources from Russia, Petrica Energy, Norway, Ama Energy, Australia, Oranto Petroleum from Nigeria, Talo has bid, Rift Valley Energy, Africa Exploration Ventures, and so on. The list is long, 16. Our plan is now we are issuing requests for proposals. Those have been issued to the companies, and we expect the companies to come back to us by the middle of January next year, and then we shall start negotiations and issue exploration licenses in mid-May next year. This slide shows some of the opportunities that are in the oil and gas sector. Upstream, the licensing round, that's an opportunity. Farming arrangements. We want to do speculative seismic, oil field services, the refinery, the crude oil pipeline, and the associated infrastructure. All that is, those are opportunities. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I would like to point out that exploration for oil and gas in Uganda is successful, with 21 discoveries made, 6.5 billion barrels of oil in place, and 1.4 to 1.7 billion barrels of recoverable reserves. Secondly, evaluation of all applications for production licenses is now complete, and these licenses will be issued out by the end of this year. Secondly, selection of a strategic investor for the refinery is now being finalized, and therefore we will have the refinery agreements also signed by the end of this year. The governments of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania, as well as the upstream companies, are carrying out intra and inter consultations to address the challenges which have been encountered in achieving the least cost pipeline route to the coast. The other point is that the export pipeline will be developed within 5 years from now. Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the organizers. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank our upstream companies, which have worked with us, Talo, Sinok, and Total, for the investment put in Uganda's oil and gas sector. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fred, for that enlightening presentation on what's happening in Uganda and what must be for your government a very historical day very soon to be awarding their first ever production licenses. It must be a great occasion for yourself and for your government, so I congratulate you. I also think it's very good we have somebody like Tim in the audience to hear the PS discussing this and actually telling you that there will be a decision on the pipeline early next year, and I think that will help you as well in your planning. So very good.